sometimes you're just really glad that you did something. So I decided that I would go ahead and take the top of the engine block off, even though I had to leave the flywheel on. And the reason I had to leave the flywheel on is, if we look at the flywheel, I stripped one side of the flywheel bolts out. And so rather than do some more damage, I just decided that I would leave well enough alone, and I would just take the flywheel with the top of the engine block. But going back to what I was saying is, yeah, look at all this grime in here, and I guess oil tray. I don't know what it is, but anyway, yeah, that's got to come out, and we're just gonna clean that up. So yeah, really happy that I took it out. Do a little bit more exploring on the engine, and then, you know, maybe I'll go ahead and I'll try really quickly to get these gasket surfaces cleaned up and put the engine back together itself, because I really would prefer to paint the two halves together. That way I'm not damaging the two halves of the engine, putting them back together, damaging the paint of the two halves of the engine. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this pan out right here, and then I'll come back and I'll clean out the bottom, and then I'll probably go ahead and take the engine off of the stand here to give me a little bit more room. So anyway, yeah, I'm glad I decided to do that, because if not, all that oil, all that gunk right there would have ended up in the oil the first time I ran it. So yeah, happy I did that. Something to be considerate of when you're working on it. Other than that, the engine, the internals actually look pretty good. I mean, the camshaft looks nice. You know, there's no real big issues there. I don't intend to take it apart any further than it already is. I think that might not be the best idea. I am kind of concerned about that seal right there. That doesn't look like a seal though, so I guess it's fine. And I'll obviously have to clean that gasket surface up some. I think what I can do is just go ahead and just run in here with a scraper or do something like that, try to get that gasket surface cleaned up. But anyway, yeah, happy to decide to do that. One thing to be really careful of as I'm looking at this, there's this fiber plug that goes right here. I've got it sitting up over here. This little piece right here, very important. It goes right in there like that. So very important not to lose this fiber plug right here. I'm gonna go ahead and put it back in a safe place. But yeah, progress. I'll once I get the base cleaned up a little bit more, I'll come back and show you the clean base, hopefully. Got the bottom of the block, or the oil sump, all cleaned up, or mostly cleaned up. There's little itty bitsy bits and pieces that I can't really clean up. Interestingly, both the inside of the oil sump and the flywheel area are this red color. It was black before, just black grime. I'm not going to paint those, or I don't intend to really paint them. I might get some overspray. But hopefully this afternoon. Originally I was going to paint the block and the oil sump together. I think instead what I'm going to do is just mask everything off, because with this bare cast iron it just starts to rust so quickly, and I can't really clean everything up in one day. Considering this video is probably, by the time I get it posted, it'll probably take course over, I don't know, probably 5 days. But anyway, I'm going to put the pan back in, and then I'll get all this taped off. The oil pump, it works fine. I'll have to put that back together prior to painting and everything. I'll get it all taped up. Other than that, I'm kind of happy with the way the block turned out. One interesting kind of note is this front plate right here where the crank gear sits. It's actually been welded or brazed into the sump right here. If you can see that, you see the gap right there, all the way over here, right there. So just kind of something interesting. But I'll go ahead and get that painted up this afternoon or this evening, and or at least primed, and then paint it maybe this weekend. And then I'll turn my attention to finish cleaning the cylinder block. One of my biggest things is I've just got to find a place to really clean it, because I've got to clean all this, because I've gotten so much, grime and metal shavings and everything in the crank gear and whatnot from cleaning everything. I'd really like to get all that cleaned out. So I've just got to get in there with some cleaner and clean it all out. That's probably a job for another. I did finish cleaning up the tag here. Got my steel wool out with some WD-40, and I think it actually cleaned up pretty well. Took a little bit of the black off down here and on the sides here to get all the corrosion off, but I'm really happy with the way that turned out. So my next big problem is painting the flywheel. I'm not really sure how I'm going to accomplish that, other than just in little fits and jerks of painting a section at a time. And I might not paint, I don't know, I might put the engine back together before I paint the flywheel, and I'll just paint, come in from the top up here, and I'll paint the top of the flywheel, and then I'll come in from the side and paint the sides, and I'll just mask this surface off right here where the generator mounts. But yeah, overall the internals of the engine, I think I showed this in a previous section of this video, the internals of the engine look fine. No big rust. Tappets haven't fallen out. I mean, they wouldn't like this, but yeah, everything looks good. I'd really like to clean everything up. I mean, it's just oily and greasy and whatnot, but I think, at this point, I'll just clean up this gasket surface right here and call it good. I think that's probably the best way to proceed. I don't want to disturb too much of the pistons. I mean, I've got 4 good pistons, 4 good rods, so I don't think I want to go any farther on that. Other pieces that I've gotten, I've cleaned up a lot of the governor housing here. I've cleaned that up. I still got a little bit more work to do on it before I can paint it. But yeah, we're coming along. Maybe I'll take a couple pictures, or I'll go over this after I get done masking it off and painting it this evening. So anyway, there we go, progress. Okay, got it primed, and that's pretty much where I'll stop for probably a couple days. I'm happy with the way it primed. I'm kind of disappointed that I really can't get in there really good. I've kind of picked at it a little bit, but there's just so much just kind of scale and everything. I tried getting in there with a wire brush, and it's just very difficult to get in. I mean, I managed to get in places like back in here pretty well, but there's just some parts that I couldn't get to. So I mean, that's okay. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, because I mean, it'll be mounted there, and I used a self-etching primer that I really like for this type of stuff. It seems to do well with rust. I've used it before on some things that really I couldn't get to, like down in there. I don't have the tools to dig out down in there, so I got what I could, just scraping it off. And a lot of that's just from the casting, I believe, just where the castings, the sand castings for where they made the part itself. So yeah, I'm happy with the way it primed. Probably let that dry a couple days. I've got some other stuff to do, a couple other projects to do, and then I'll come back, and it'll probably be next week before I make it back to this project again. But we're making progress, so that's about all you can ask for.